Good morning. So I'm going to read you some chapters and post them in Google Classroom in this book because I started to read it with David, but not all of you got to listen. So I will go back and read this first chapter and then I'll post it chapter by chapter. So the title of the book is Polar Bears Past Bedtime. I'll probably have to read it like this, won't I? I can't tell if it's upside down. Maybe not. Anyway, you can just listen and you can sort of see the pictures. I think I might have to read it upside down. So Polar Bears Past Bedtime, and it's part of the Magic Tree House book series. It's number 12, and they're all written by Mary Pope Osborne. Okay, so it says, "Are you serious?" Whoo! The strange sound came from outside the open window. Jack opened his eyes in the dark. The sound came again. Whoo! Jack sat up and turned on his light. He put on his glasses, and then he grabbed the flashlight from the table and shone it out the window. A white, snowy owl was sitting on a tree branch. Whoo! The owl said again. Its large, can you see that picture of the owl? Its large yellow eyes looked right into Jack's. What does he want? Jack wondered. Is he a sign, like the rabbit and the gazelle? That was probably from a different book before this one. A long-legged rabbit and a gazelle had led Jack and Annie to the Magic Tree House for their last two adventures. Sure enough, that's just what I was talking about. Whoo! Wait a second, Jack said to the owl. I'll get Annie. Jack's sister, Annie, always seemed to know what birds and animals were saying. Jack jumped out of bed and hurried to Annie's room. She was sound asleep. Jack shook her and she stirred. What? She said. Come to my room, whispered Jack. I think Morgan sent another sign. In a split second, Annie was out of bed. She hurried with Jack to his room. Jack led her to the window. The snowy owl was still there. Whoo, said the owl. Then he raised his white wings and took off into the night. He wants us to go to the woods, said Annie. That's what I thought, said Jack. Meet you downstairs after we get dressed. No, he says go now, right now, Annie said. We'll have to go in our pajamas. I have to put on my sneakers, Jack said. Okay, I'll put on mine too. Meet you downstairs, said Annie. Jack pulled on his sneakers and he threw his notebook into his backpack, and then he grabbed his flashlight and tiptoed downstairs. Annie was waiting at the front door. They silently slipped outside together. The night air was warm. Moths danced around the porch light. I feel weird, said Jack. I'm going back to put on some real clothes. You can't, said Annie. The owl said right now. She jumped off the porch and headed across their dark yard. Ooh, that seems kind of scary, doesn't it? Wouldn't you get in trouble for going outside without your parents knowing? Jack groaned. How did Annie know exactly what the owl said, he wondered. Still, he didn't want to be left behind, so he took off after her. The moon lit their way as they ran down the street. It's hard to read upside down. When they entered the Frog Creek woods, Jack turned on his flashlight. The beam of light showed shadows and swaying branches. Jack and Annie stepped between the trees. They stayed close together. Ooh, Jack jumped in fear. It's just the white owl, Annie said. He's somewhere nearby. The woods are creepy, said Jack. Yeah, said Annie. In the dark, it doesn't even feel like our woods. Suddenly, the owl flapped near them. Yikes, said Annie. Jack shone his flashlight on the white bird as it rose into the sky. The owl landed on a tree branch right next to the Magic Tree House. And there was Morgan Le Fay, the enchantress librarian. Her long white hair gleamed in the beam of Jack's flashlight. So here's Morgan Le Fay. She shows up in every single one of the books. "Hello," Morgan called softly in a soothing voice. "Come up." Jack used his flashlight to find the rope ladder, and then he and Annie climbed into the treehouse. Morgan was holding 3 scrolls. Each one held the answer to an ancient riddle that Jack and Annie had already solved. "You have journeyed to the ocean, the Wild West, and Africa to find the answers to these 3 riddles," said Morgan. "Ready for another journey?" "Yes," said Jack and Annie together. Morgan pulled a 4th scroll from the folds of her robe. Do you guys know what a scroll is? A scroll is something it's like a piece of paper. If this was the paper that you make a scroll out of, sometimes they roll them up like this, and then they have like a string tying them together. Where was I? She pulled a 4th scroll from the folds of her robe. She handed it to Annie. "After we solve this riddle, will we become master librarians?" asked Annie, "and help you gather books through time and space?" Jack said. "Almost," said Morgan. Before Jack could ask what she meant, Morgan pulled out a book and gave it to him. "For your research," she said. Jack and Annie looked at the book's title, Adventure in the Arctic. So they're going to the Arctic. Do you know where the Arctic is? David knew when I asked him. He said it's at the bottom of the world. So maybe someday, if you're in the classroom, we can look at the globe and see. Where was I? "Oh, wow, the Arctic," said Annie. "The Arctic?" said Jack. He turned to Morgan. "Are you serious?" "Indeed I am," she said, "and you must hurry." I wish we could go there," said Annie, pointing at the cover. Wait a minute. "We'll freeze to death," Jack said. "Fear not," said Morgan. "I am sending someone to meet you." The wind started to blow. "Meet us? Who?" said Jack. "Who?" said the snowy owl. Before Morgan could answer, the treehouse began to spin. It spun faster and faster, and then everything was still. Absolutely still. All right. I will post chapter 2 called The Howling tomorrow. Can you make a prediction based on the picture? What might happen in that chapter?